Hi everyone, this is Dr. Madhuri from Team MDS Conquer. So now we'll discuss about the blood supply of the face in this video. Even though this topic is little bit confusing, you should know the blood supply of the face, including the arterial supply of the face and also the venous drainage of the face, which is a very important thing. So this is the contents of this video. So coming to the introduction, where you can write like face is highly vascular and it will bleed profusely. Because of this high vascularity, it has a boon that it will heal rapidly. So this is the development of vascular system at the end of the 4th week. You can draw this diagram simply. You can include this common cardinal veins. In this veins are important. Like common cardinal vein is important, and anterior cardinal vein is important, and posterior cardinal vein is important. So you can draw this diagram and label these three things. And this aortic arches are very important. So this vascular system actually is of two types. It is blood vascular system and the lymph vascular system. And this blood vascular system, the central organ is the heart and the blood vessels, whereas the lymphatic glands and lymphatic vessels are seen in this lymph vascular system. Then coming to the arterial supply of the head and neck, first you have to know about the aorta. That is, aorta is the arterial trunk of the body, okay, and it arises from the left ventricle of the heart. And this, there are of three: ascending aorta, arch of aorta, and descending aorta, which rise to right and left coronary arteries, arch of aorta, which gives rise to brachiocephalic trunk, left common carotid, and left subclavian arteries, and descending aorta, thoracic aorta, and the abdominal aorta. So this is the picture showing all these things: what is ascending aorta, what is arch of aorta, and the ascending aorta. Okay, so you can see here left coronary artery and right coronary artery, brachiocephalic, right subclavian artery, right common carotid artery, left common carotid artery, and left subclavian artery. So common carotid artery has two branches, that is external carotid artery and internal carotid artery. And this right common carotid origin is from the brachiocephalic trunk, whereas the left common carotid artery origin is from the arch of aorta. Then going to the external carotid artery, this external carotid artery is slightly curved, and in the carotid triangle, it lies under cover of the sternocleidomastoid muscle and deep to the artery. Whereas above the carotid triangle, it lies deep in the parotid gland and deep in the artery. Okay, this relations of this external carotid artery are important. So you can see the branches of external carotid artery here. This is ascending pharyngeal, posterior auricular and occipital, superficial temporal and maxillary. So these are the branches of external carotid artery. So we'll see the branches of external carotid artery starting from the superior thyroid artery. And this superior thyroid artery has of these branches like infrahyoid branch. So you can learn the branch names so that you can directly write the blood supply to those structures. Like infrahyoid will give supply to the hyoid bone. So as the name itself indicates. So you can simply learn the branches of the superior thyroid artery. Okay. Superior thyroid artery, sternocleidomastoid branch, infrahyoid branch, superior laryngeal artery, and glandular branches to the thyroid gland. So applied anatomy, when coming to this superior thyroid artery, this artery is very close to the external laryngeal nerve, okay, and it diverges from the nerve near the thyroid gland. So this is therefore in the important during the thyroidectomy procedures. So to avoid injury to the nerve, the artery should be ligated as near as gland possible because it lies near to the external laryngeal nerve. So you can see here the ligation of the artery, whereas it lies close to the external laryngeal nerve. Then coming to the lingual artery, superior thyroid artery we have done. Then coming to the lingual artery, it has two parts, that is first part and the second. It has actually the four parts, that is first part, second part, third part and the fourth part. The first part will lie in the carotid triangle The second part lie deep to the hyoglossus muscle. The third part run upwards along the anterior border of the hyoglossus, whereas under the surface of the tongue it runs as a fourth part. So four parts. Lingual artery has four parts. Branches includes suprahyoid branch, whereas the infrahyoid branch is a branch of superior thyroid artery. Then dorsolingual branches and the sublingual artery. So this suprahyoid branch arises from the first part, dorsolingual branches arises from the second part, sublingual artery arises from the third part. So here this diagram show the branches of the lingual artery here. So you can see this is the lingual artery. Okay, then giving to sublingual muscle, this is the sublingual branch and the suprahyoid branch. And here you can see the dorsolingual branches. Then coming superior thyroid artery done and the lingual artery done. Coming to the facial artery, it has two parts, cervical part and the facial part. Cervical part runs upwards in the neck, whereas the facial part, it runs on the face. And the branches of cervical part includes ascending palatine, which supplies to the tonsil, tonsillar also supplied to the tonsil, submental and glandular branches. So these are the branches of cervical part. And here you can see the facial artery, the facial branches, this like inferior, superior labial, lateral nasal, angular artery. So these are the branches of the facial artery. Then what is the applied anatomy? This facial artery is also called as a anesthetist artery, and it can be, because it is commonly palpated by the anesthetist at the anterior-inferior angle of the masseter muscle, again as the base of the mandible. Hence it is called as the anesthetist artery. Then coming to the occipital artery, this origin from the external carotid only 2 centimeters, posteriorly from the external carotid 2 centimeters from its origin, and it ends posteriorly in the scalp. See, you can see here this is the occipital artery which ends posteriorly in the scalp. Then these are the branches of the occipital artery. Simply you can learn the branches. Then coming to the posterior auricular artery, this is origin from the retromandibular fossa above the stylohyoid. Okay, and this course will be like it distributes branches partly to the ear and partly to the scalp. So you can see here this posterior auricular artery. Then coming to the branches, to digastric muscle. To digastric, it will use to digastric, stylohyoid and sternocleidomastoid and parotid gland. It gives the branches, and the three main branches are like stylomastoid artery, auricular artery, and occipital branch. You can see here branches of the occipital artery, like to the mastoid process it is giving, to the digastric muscle it is giving, and to the it is occipital artery. Then coming to the ascending pharyngeal artery, this will have pharyngeal branches, laryngeal branches, inferior tympanic branch and palatine branches. Okay, so the name itself, pharyngeal to pharynx and the soft palate, laryngeal to foramina, base of the skull, and palatine to levator palatine muscle of the palate. Then coming to the maxillary artery, it will have, its origin is below the mandibular neck, okay, and it courses, it will have a mandibular part, pterygoid part, and a pterygopalatine part. So the first part, mandibular part, branches includes deep auricular artery, anterior tympanic branch, medial meningeal artery, accessory meningeal artery, and inferior alveolar artery. The second pterygoid part give rise to deep temporal branches, pterygoid branches, masseteric artery and buccal artery. Whereas the pterygopalatine branch gives rise to posterior superior alveolar artery, infraorbital artery, greater palatine, pharyngeal artery of pterygoid canine, sphenopalatine artery. So here you can see this branches. Then coming to superficial temporal artery, here it crosses the posterior root of the zygomatic process, and it will begin in the parotid gland behind the mandible's neck. And in the parotid gland, it will have relationship with temporal and zygomatic branches of the facial nerve. And in the scalp, it will have a relationship with the veins and posterior to the auriculotemporal nerve. These are the branches: transverse facial artery and anterior auricular branches, and zygomatico-orbital branches, middle temporal artery, frontal branch, and the parietal branch. So these are the branches. Applied anatomy. So this is used in to control the temporal hemorrhage. You have to careful about this artery, and placement before placement of incisions in the craniotomy, and in the reduction of the zygomatic arch fractures through Gillies approach. You should be careful with this artery. And again, this is called as a giant cell arteritis, where you can see the inflamed temporal artery mainly occurs in the elderly people. Then coming to the internal carotid artery, it will have like it courses vertically in the neck, horizontally petrous carotid canal, upwards in the foramen lacerum, horizontally forward in the cavernous sinus, vertically upward in the anterior clinoid process, and backward and upward to its terminal branches. So it divide into cervical, petrous, cavernous, and cerebral parts. So cervical part, remember this, no cervical part has no branches in the neck. The petrous part will have posterior, these are the relations of the petrous part, posterolaterally, anterolaterally, and superiorly. Branches include keraticotympanic branch and the pterygoid artery. And in the cavernous part, branches include cavernous branches, hypophyseal branches, and meningeal branches. And the cerebral part gives rise to 5 branches: ophthalmic artery, anterior cerebral artery, middle cerebral artery, posterior communicating artery, and anterior choroid artery. Then ophthalmic artery, it will give rise to 2 small branches, like that is zygomaticofacial artery and the dorsonasal artery. Then this is called as a Little's or a Kesselbach's area. You can see this thing. Yeah, you can use this diagrammatic representation of this area, where you can see all the posterior ethmoidal arteries, and mostly because of this injury, you can results in the epistaxis. And coming to the veins, they are classified into veins of exterior of head and neck, cervical veins, diploic, meningeal, and intracranial dural venous sinuses. So these are the external veins of the head and neck. Just you have to know the names. That's it. Then cervical veins, please know these names. Learn these names, classification, and the veins which are included in this cervical veins. Then coming to this is very important. If we are writing about the veins, you have to write this paired and unpaired the dural sinuses. Just you can write just the names of the paired sinuses. So facial vein is very important for us. So this tributaries will connect to the superior ophthalmic vein, cavernous sinus on the face, and below the mandible. So you can see here this representation is the retromandibular vein and the deep facial vein from the pterygoid plexus. And applied anatomy, these have no walls and connected to the cavernous sinus, dangerous area of the face. So you can see this is the dangerous area of the face, because here any infection or anything from this can enter into the cavernous sinus and can cause the cavernous sinus thrombosis. Hence it is called as a dangerous area of the face. So in this applied anatomy aspects, you can even write the cavernous sinus thrombosis also for the veins. So these are the references for this video. So this is for the complete it is covering all the arterial supply and venous drainage of the head and neck. Though it is little bit confusing, better to write all the arteries and veins together like a classification, and at least read out the names, so that it will be useful when they ask like blood supply of the veins. And here this I have covered the 3 or 4 important applied aspects here regarding the arteries. And for the veins, you have to write the Little's area, dangerous area of the face, and cavernous sinus thrombosis. So these are the important applied aspects you can mention when they ask about the blood supply of the face. Okay. Thank you everyone. Have a nice day.